For decades, a paper documentation system has always had the proof of vaccination. The most well-known is the requirement of many governments for yellow fever vaccination depending on your travel history and destination. These days, the IATA Travel Pass moves this type of medical information to a digital platform and joins it up with up-to-date information on entry requirements of individual countries. This makes the process more convenient for travelers and helps avoid fraudulent documentation as the COVID-19 pandemic still persists. The IATA Travel Pass and vaccination records facilitating international travel is our focus. Plus, Russian tourists now troop back to Egypt's holiday resorts. A warm welcome to Vision this week on Channels Television. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi.
Aviation is once again gaining grounds as borders have reopened and are still reopening, thanks to the COVID-19 vaccines. However, many don't want to give the virus a chance to return as new variants are popping up in some areas. One solution that is gaining traction is a vaccine passport, which could allow people to prove they've been vaccinated against COVID-19 in order to return to certain activities, such as flying internationally, attending sporting events, or sending their kids back to school. From the economic point of view, the issuance of a vaccine passport will speed up travel and population flow and benefit vaccine production and tourism. However, others warn about the possibilities of illegal trade of vaccine passports in the market due to lack of effective international policing. First, it was the International Air Transport Association creating a digital passport to verify passengers' pre-travel test or that vaccination meets the requirements of their destination. The IATA Travel Pass has been developed as 4 independent modules that can interact with each other. Now to the US, where United Airlines released a mobile app that allows customers upload test results and vaccine records. The Travel Ready Center also lets flyers review COVID-19 requirements for their destinations, schedule a COVID-19 test at one of more than 15,000 testing sites around the world, and have results sent directly via the app to the United Airlines. It appears the European Commission will develop its own vaccine passports. The digital Green Pass will combine information on vaccination, details of any coronavirus tests, and recoveries if in case the person was ill with the virus at some point. In France, the Green Passport is key to the hospitality sector and tourism sector. For some Spaniards, the digital pass is a form of discrimination. China has launched a digital COVID-19 vaccination certificate for its citizens planning cross-border travel, joining other countries issuing similar documents as they seek ways to reopen their economies. Some Beijing residents remain skeptical about the certification. The certificate issued by China will have details about the holder's COVID-19 vaccination information and coronavirus test results. And now to the middle, where Qatar Airways has been running trials for the IATA Travel Pass digital passport. The Travel Pass has been developed so as to ensure that passengers get all updated information on COVID-19 health regulations for their destination country. Moreover, this app will also provide COVID-19 test results with the airlines in order to verify the flying status of passengers. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization, the WHO, is asking countries to be exceptionally careful regarding vaccination certification.
We have to be exceptionally careful because right now we're dealing with a tremendously inequitous situation in the world where the likelihood of you being offered or getting a vaccine is very much to do with the country you live in, very much to do with the level of wealth, the level of influence that you or your government has on global markets.
There is also a debate among EU member nations, with some arguing it may be premature to issue such passports, as it's unclear how much protection vaccines give against transmission.
A past president of the National Association of Air Travel Agents, Mr. Bernard Bankole, is our guest, and he explains the benefits of the digital pass.
We're grateful to God that IATA, being the global body, they are championing it so that they can restore confidence in the passengers, they can restore confidence in airlines, they can restore confidence in the government, because the government is responsible for the citizens of their country. The airlines want to be sure that they are not transmitting the disease further to other countries, and the passengers want to feel comfortable that while they are on board, they are not exposed to any health hazard. So as it is, IATA is coming up with a lot of initiative, and this initiative will help everyone. That creates a platform where informations are being gathered and it becomes reliable. And it's a digital platform. So the idea of taking my COVID test to the airport for it to be verified whether it's valid or it's not valid becomes completely irrelevant. I, as an airline, just need to visit a particular portal where I can get that information once it is loaded there, and I can rely on it that it is genuine. We won't have a choice because we will not be operating in isolation. There's a digital platform for all those that are taking the vaccine, whereby you are registered, they have all your details, which is being uploaded on a particular platform, your picture, everything is there. And there's a barcode that all they need to do is to scan that barcode, and every information of mine will reveal there whether I've truly taken the vaccine or not. The only thing IATA is trying to do is to create a global platform that will be authentic and reliable for government, passengers, and airlines to key into it. Just for instance now, I'm here selling tickets of different airlines around the world. The airline will not say, oh, they might not even know me in person, but they know that, yes, I'm an IATA agent, I'm registered with them, I'm fulfilling all my obligations. They are relying on the fact that there's a platform which is enabling me to trade. So it might be a little bit difficult before it gets to Africa, but that is what future travel is going to be. And I can say that if not for the pandemic that happened, we might find it difficult for the technology that's been introduced now that simplifies travel going forward. Because if travel is not simplified, it will be difficult for us to go back to where we are before the pandemic. There's absolutely nothing new that is being done. The only difference now is that you are giving it on a different platform. For instance, if I get to Heathrow today, I'm being asked to do my fingerprints. They will take my biometrics. Have I not released that information to them? They will do my eye scan. Have I not revealed information to them? So there are so many other things that are being revealed at the entry border. Willingly, because at that particular point in time, I'm the one that has solicited to go into that particular country. So now creating a platform does not make it any different. Rather, the process has just been simplified. And once the process is simplified, it does not make we, the travelers, vulnerable. And that's the truth. As long as the platform that is being given to us is a secured platform.
Russian flights have resumed landing in the Egyptian resort of Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada for the first time in nearly 6 years, after Moscow banned them following a deadly plane crash. A Russia Airlines flight arrived in Sharm el-Sheikh from Moscow's Sheremetyevo airport with 517 tourists on board, while another flight arrived in Hurghada from Moscow carrying 518 passengers. As flights resumed, Russian tourists also lounged by the beach at one of Egypt's Red Sea resorts. Excited to be able to take direct flights to the sunny resorts, tourists swam, snorkeled and enjoyed various other water activities and sports. Russia stopped flights to Egypt after a Metrojet plane taking Russian holidaymakers back from Sharm el-Sheikh to St. Petersburg broke up in October 2015, killing all 224 people on board. Flights had also been stopped to Cairo but were resumed in 2018. Russia concluded that the Metrojet plane was destroyed by a bomb after a group affiliated with Islamic State militants claimed responsibility. Tourism is a key source of hard currency for Egypt, an important industry for employing young people that accounts for up to 15% of gross domestic product. The sector was pummeled by the COVID-19 pandemic, with tourism revenues at about $4 billion in 2020, down 70% from $13 billion in 2019. From Egypt to Israel, as passengers on an El Al flight from New York to Tel Aviv were tested for the coronavirus on the plane itself or before boarding to speed up procedures upon arrival in Israel, where infections are on the rise.
This test replaced the test in Ben Gurion Airport, meaning that we save time. Instead of holding on in line upon landing, we save the time for the passenger. And second, we decrease the time that the people need to wait until they get the results of the second test. We take this sample that we take here directly from the landing to the lab, so we decrease the time so the whole process for the passenger look much safer and easier.
I think this process is very good. You know, it helps us get into Israel faster, and it leaves some of the pressure from us when we land. So I think it's very good that they're doing this now here. And you know, they seem to be struggling a little bit with the amount of people, but they're getting good at they're picking up.
The Israeli airline announced the plan a day after Israel said travelers from the United States, like those from many other countries, would have to self-isolate for at least a week after landing at Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion Airport. Israel hopes the new restriction will slow the spread of COVID-19 and discourage Israelis from flying abroad and risking higher exposure to the Delta variant that's fueling a surge of infections worldwide. The PCR test for the El Al passengers is being conducted in coordination with Israel's health ministry and the companies that have testing labs at New York's John E. Kennedy Airport and at Ben Gurion. The airline notes that the tests, a pilot program, are not a substitute for those required for passengers from the United States and other countries up to 72 hours before a flight.
This is a first of a kind globally here in New York at JFK Terminal 4. If this goes well, we'll expand to other cities that El Al flies out of in the U.S. back to Tel Aviv.
Israel closed its borders to tourists at the outset of the pandemic and has only allowed in a small number of foreigners in recent months. El Al, which changed owners and management last year, and other Israeli airlines were hit hard, shutting most routes for 2020, while the local tourism sector also suffered. Israel has banned travel to and from 14 countries, including India, Britain, Russia, Spain, and Mexico.
When we return after the break, our special report is next. Do join us again. Air travel is heavily regulated, and while it's true that airlines sometimes may not be on top of their game, extreme weather is the most frequent culprit of flight diversions, delays and cancellations, all this happening as part of the aviation game.
The weather has a very strong impact, on
the planes, like that. So if the weather is not good, definitely, I mean, if a pilot has to keep, circumventing, the airspace, just to make sure that, he has a clear, vision before landing, I think, safety is the most important thing. So if he has to, keep, merry-go-rounding, in the airspace until he has a clear, view. I mean, as long as, the passengers, are safe.
Just yesterday when I was coming to the airport, I received a mail from airline that my flight has been cancelled, and there is no flight. There was no flight for me to Abuja. So I had to just stay back in Lagos and book another flight for me to go to Abuja this morning. I had to reschedule my program, and I had to add another money to book for another flight, and it results in delay, loss of time, and also it's somehow expensive because I booked earlier before the flight was cancelled.
Weather can significantly affect aircraft operations. Low cloud, fog and rain may impede visibility at or around an airport, while thunderstorms and lightning can cause serious disruption to flight schedules. Airline also explained that delays and diversions occur during sudden weather changes when the flight is already airborne, because weather could change suddenly without notice. A major example is the low-level wind shear, which is known as very devastating to flights and could occur suddenly within few minutes.
This is a phenomenon whereby the speed of wind and direction changes abruptly, but it is more dangerous for aviation when it occurs at low level. Why? The simple reason is during approach and landing and during takeoff, that is when we have the most demand on the aircraft performance. And if at approach you are coming into land, you are at very low speed, you have the engines really working hard to keep the speed that you have selected. All of a sudden there is a change of wind direction or wind speed. It will affect the performance of the aircraft, and it might cause it to sink, and then it can actually, if not detected very quickly, it can affect the performance that the aircraft might not reach the runway.
Aircraft are unable to take off or land during a storm and will often be rerouted. Thunderstorms and lightning strikes near airports may also stop ground operations until they pass. Although bad weather, if not well managed, could lead to accidents, but so far pilots in Nigeria say the Nigerian Meteorological Agency has been effective in delivering accurate weather reports. Just recently, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority cautioned all pilots and critical flight parties over severe thunderstorms and other hazardous weather which hampers flight operations now that the rainy season has set in. With this, airlines say they stick to the standard of operation on issues relating to weather and safety.
Delay, cancellations will always occur in aviation, not in Nigeria, globally, because weather will set in, aircrafts can go tech, and there will be delays, there will be cancellation. Now, how you handle the delays and how you handle the passengers and how you communicate to the passengers is another thing. So it is encouraged for airlines to delay because of weather, because you don't want to arrive at a destination or take off from a destination where there is bad weather, and you enter into a situation where you jeopardize the lives of your passengers. We aviators, we like to make sure that the flights are done as smooth as possible and as safe as we can.
Aviation, most probably more than any other mode of transportation, is greatly affected by weather, with every phase of flight having the potential to be impacted. For that reason, commercial aviation in Nigeria must continually deal with these adverse types of weather regularly to ensure safe flight operations. News flash takes off with Air Peace Airlines' commencement of scheduled flight operations to Ibadan Airport, and the Oyo State government has pledged to support the airline. The carrier says it hopes to link Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, to every geopolitical zone of the country in its No City Left Behind program.
There's an airport upgrade project that we're pushing here. We want to extend the runway, and we also are putting a storage, aviation fuel storage and dispensing facility here. That contract has been awarded, and I'm sure within a year that will be functional. Those two things, what we want Air Peace to take away from this is the fact that we have a dry port here, which means people from other parts of the country, they can avoid the Apapa port. They can come here, clear their goods and return back, whether they're coming from the east or from the north. They save themselves this 120 kilometers from here to Lagos, and also about 3 to 4 hours of wading through traffic in Lagos.
The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has said that Tropical Arctic Logistics is yet to meet the requirements for the renewal of its air operator certificate, as it currently does not have 3 out of 4 key nominated post holders. The Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Musa Nuhu, said that it would not compromise in enforcing safety standards and regulatory requirements in the initial issuance and renewal of all AOCs. Meanwhile, the chairman of the company has asked the regulator to immediately convene a meeting of domestic operators to understand and resolve the difficulties airline owners are experiencing. The chairman of the company said that despite the promise of the federal government to create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive, some government agencies are making it difficult for domestic airlines to survive.
I sincerely respect and support the DG's considering his international experience, but I will advise on his response to please pull back a little to get the facts of Tropical Arctic Logistics AOC renewal issue. TAL has lost so far over $7 million. TAL has reached its limit and has decided to suspend the action on following through with the AOC renewal. Despite concluding the phase 3, there are 5 phases in the renewal process. We've completed the 3 phases. The renewal process in Nigeria does not align with the international practice, although it's supposed to be the same ACAO procedure.
This is where our flight lands. It's bye for now. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi.